Oh, yes, kiddies. Today is the day. We finally are going to do it. We're going to rank the top 25 Italian prog rock albums today on the channel. Welcome to the Prog Corner, boys and girls. We're not going to let the evil fruit company hold us down. It's not going to happen. So we're just going to do what we do, however we can do it. And if it means going via this horrible webcam, then that's what we're going to do. But today we're talking about rock progressivo italiano, RPI. Is it really a separate subgenre, as some people say, or is it really just symphonic prog being sung in Italian? We've got other subgenres that are geographically specific. For example, the Canterbury scene. You've got moving gelatin plates from France. They're not from Canterbury. You've got Super Sister from the Netherlands. They're not from the UK at all. So why don't we have any RPI bands not from Italy? I don't know. Does it make any difference at all? I don't know if it does or not. I'm really not sure. All I know is that back in the 70s, I became acquainted with a band called PFM, courtesy of Greg Lake and the Manicore label. And, I bought those two English speaking records. I knew about Banco. I knew about Lay Army because they too did English speaking records. But today, we are going through the top 25 because about 20 years later, I discovered that the Italian prog is way better when sung in its native language. And this well is so incredibly deep. It's just incredible. Let's take a look at the bands I'm not going to be talking about today. This is just insane. Garibaldi, Jacula, Stormy Six, Recommendata Resuvuto Returno, Picchio del Pozzo, The Trip, Dee Lind, Daedalus, Saint Just, Formula 3, Ibis, Capitolo 6, Velos Dactylus, Leovo de Colombo, Jet, Corte di Miracoli, Celeste. Oh, I'm feeling salty about Celeste not being on here. Surveyo, I Gigante, Jumbo, Real Accademia de Musica, Franco Battiato, Rockies Filled, Sensations Fixed, Apatosi, Cherry 5, Latte e Miele, Festo Mobile, Il Volo, Aqua Fragile, Odyssey, and the new Trolls. It's insane. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but whatever. Today, we're going to go through the top 25, and we're starting with this one right here. Oh, the Great Metamorphosis. The album's called Inferno. Oh, yeah, this thing is amazing. I just love it. And let's see what we got going on here. Yeah, this came out in 1973. This was their second album. These guys hail from Rome. They sound a little bit like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, I guess. They're real keyboard heavy. This was their second album. Their first one came out in 72, and it was okay. They have put out a couple records since. This is part one of a trilogy. 2004, they put out Paradiso, and in 2016, they put out Purgatorio. Really cool. Keyboard player Enrico Olivieri. Awesome. But this record is dynamite at number 25. We're going with Campo di Marti from Florence. This one came out in 1973. It's their one and only record, and it is phenomenal. Look at this artwork. I love the album cover. Very, very cool. Each of the songs is known as one part of a bigger piece, I guess, but I just really enjoy this record. These guys came out in Florence. They're just your traditional 5-piece, but they do a lot of great things. At number 23, we're going to Goblin. Oh, yeah. These guys hail from Rome. They're one of the more famous of the RPI bands, obviously, because of their connection with the movie soundtracks. They did a whole lot of work with, that great Italian horror film director. I can't remember his name, whatever it is. He did Suspiria and Profondo Rosa, but this was the one and only Goblin album that was not connected to a soundtrack. This was actually their second album, came out in 1972. If you include the Cherry 5 album, I guess they did too. 2 albums without a connection to a movie. There's all kinds of versions of this band out there. There's Goblin now. Cherry 5 is back. Claudio Simonetti has a version of Goblin, and then there's another one called Goblin Rebirth. But yeah, if you get a chance to check out Goblin and any of the incarnations, definitely do so. Okay, at number 22, it's Elucephalix. These guys hail from Milan. This, of course, was their one and only album, 1974. It's called Intorno alla mia cattiva educazione. Just fantastic. Really, really great. I'm loving this. I think it's amazing. Good artwork, too. Very, very cool. Hey, if anybody's wondering, every single one of these is a reissue except one. One later on is actually going to be a first pressing. Again, what a great band. You got Guido Gabet on guitar, Massimo Peretti on keyboards, Mario, Guido, and Augusto Serla. Got 3 brothers on sax, bass, and drums. Very cool record. I love it a lot. And now at number 21, it's Biglietto Per L'Inferno. This one's a little heavier. It does fall more into maybe like a classic rock type of territory, although there are some forays into Jethro Tull type stuff. This is their first album. They released it in 1974, and I guess they actually recorded a second album, which didn't see the light of day until 1992. They had 2 more albums in the 2000s, which were good, but this one is the classic. This one is amazing. I just love it. It's got a little bit of an edge to it, which I really, really enjoy. At number 20. This one maybe not pure RPI. Some people may consider this a little bit more of a fusion album, but it's Artie and Mestieri and Tilt from 1974. This is their debut album. It's phenomenal. Their follow-up to this, which came out a couple years later, was called Giro di Valzer Predomini, and that's really good too. But this one here is just terrific. It's got just enough jazzy stuff to make it interesting, but not too much to turn me off. One of the greatest Italian rock albums ever, Tilt by Artie and Mestieri. I love it. And now at number 19. Oh yeah, it's Merple. And Io Sono Merple from 1974. This was a one and done. These guys were a 4-piece outfit, and this album's really cool. It kind of plays like a Passion Play or Thick as a Brick, something along those lines. They did come out with a couple records in the 2000s, one in 2008, which I haven't heard, but then they put out one in 2014, which is actually really good. But this is a great record. 1 song on each side, cool artwork. These guys were from Rome, and I love it. That's number 19. That's Merple. And at number 18, oh, it's Panna Fredda with Uno. This is the earliest record I'm showing today. This was one of the very first RPI acts to break out, and this came out in 1971. These guys were from Rome, and again, guess what? This is a one and done. Very great record. It's got so much greatness on here. I think I got this. It's on colored vinyl too. And I don't know why we're doing comments here, but we've got some people chiming in on the live chat. Maybe I'll, give some shout outs. I don't know. Giovanni and Shershi out there, Richard Tyson, the Prog Network. You guys know what time it is. This is number 18, and it's Panna Fredda, and I just love this album. I do. I really do. And now at number 17, maybe one of the first surprise entries that we've got here today. It's Citta Frontale. These guys are related to Osanna. This album is called El Tor. It's kind of like a rock opera type of deal. It's really, really great. It's a little softer than Osanna, a little more folk. You got that Mediterranean folk stuff going on, but it's got the really weird instrumentation of Osanna, but it's a little more peaceful. But the melodies on here are just so good, man. Oh, you will find yourself humming these earworms all week. I just love this album. It's terrific. Came out in 1975. And like I said, these guys do have connections to Osanna, but they're also connected to St. Just and Balletto Di Bronzo with different members, you know, going back and forth, all that kind of stuff. At number 16, oh, baby, it's Aria and Crack. This is their third album. I could have easily have gone with their first one, I'll Be Mock Free from 1973, or their second album, Caution Radiation Area from 74. This came out in 75, and it is my favorite Area album, although all 5 of their 70s releases are fantastic. They did drop an album in 1980 and another one in 96, which are good, but their 5 70s albums are just incredible. So great. Yeah, that back of the album cover is not great. There's nothing there, but Aria is so great. Demetrius Stratos' vocals are unlike anything you've ever heard before. Oh, I love it. I love it. Next up at number 15, boys and girls. Oh, it's Delirium 3. Viaggio negli archipelagi del tempo from 1974. Obviously, this is their third album. 1, 2, 3. Their first one, Dolce Aqua 1971, was great. Their second album was a bit of a drop off. It's good, but this album here is amazing. Some people say if you take King Crimson and Jethro Tull and put them together, you kind of get something like this. These guys were originally called I Sagittari. They are from the Genova area, but this album is an absolute essential. It's a must-have. You got to have this in your collection. I had to get it recently because I did not have it on vinyl, and yeah, it's just amazing. Okay, kiddies, at number 14, what do we got here? Oh, yeah. Blocco Mentale and Pau, which I guess in Greek means grass. This is limited edition on green vinyl, I think, but it's got the little die cut, little flower. I guess the whole album is some kind of a tome to ecology and Mother Earth and, you know, green stuff. For an album that came out in 1973, talk about being way ahead of your time. But, you know, that whole hippy dippy stuff, I guess, was still pretty prevalent in the early 70s. And I've been told that the lyrics on this are not great. If you're an Italian speaker, I guess they're a little pedestrian. I don't speak Italian, so they sound amazing to me. And maybe that's why I do prefer Italian in Italian. You know, Italian bands singing in English don't do it for me. Maybe because I do understand what the lyrics are. And if you'll notice, every single one of these records in my top 25 are sung in Italian. Yes, they are. And that's number 14. At number 13, oh, yeah. It's getting real good now, kids. It's getting real good with Il Rovescio della Medaglia and Contaminacion from 1973. This was their third album. Their first 2 were good. I like them, but this one here just takes it to a whole other level. As you can see from the album cover, you got this kind of Bach kind of thing going on. Yeah, they take a lot of the Bach themes and ramp them up and make them a little bit more rock. And it's just an incredible record. There was an English version of this that came out on RCA, avoided at all costs. This band was from Rome, and after this, they kind of disappeared. I don't know if they did anything after this. I think they did, like in the 2000s, maybe put out another record or 2. I haven't heard them. I don't know. Number 12. It's Locanda della Fate, boys and girls, with Forse, le Luciole non si amano più, which means what if the fireflies don't love each other? Naomi from 365 Days of Prog recently did a review of this album. She liked it, but she hated the album cover. There are some problems with the album cover, but come on, it is a cool image. I do like it. You know, it's got the gatefold thing going on. These guys recorded the one album, 1977. The singer Leonardo Sasso's got a really cool raspy voice, very typical Italian. Then they had a couple things. They did an EP, which had some songs that they re-recorded that they never got around to, and then some live stuff. That EP was called The Missing Fireflies. And then they did another album back in like 1998. That one I have not heard. This must be heard, though. I love this album at number 12. How is this only number 12? That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay. What do we got next? My next surprise entry at number 11. This one you guys probably wouldn't guess, but I just love this album. It's Luciano Paso and Voci. Oh, this album is amazing. This guy is a classical pianist, keyboard player. This was his only pure prog album. He did a couple more albums after this, but they got increasingly more and more classical with less and less prog rock in them. This is 6 songs, all instrumental. So I lied when I said everything was sung in Italian. Yeah, this is an instrumental album, but it's just phenomenal. Luciano Paso. I love this thing. If you guys haven't heard this, you definitely need to check it out. It's some of the best ELP inspired prog rock you're ever gonna hear. At number 10, now the stuff is just getting amazing here. I don't think anybody's gonna complain about this one being included. I certainly hope not, because it's Il Balletto Di Bronzo and Ease from 1972. Yeah, this was their second album, and their first one was good. I do like it, but man, did they take leaps and bounds on this thing. I have no idea where this came from. It's one of those scary albums that you listen to, and it just awakens all these dark feelings inside of you that you didn't know you had. And I just absolutely love this thing. It is scary. These guys are from Naples. They did put out another album in 2016, but it's not great. This is the one, boys and girls. You got to have it. Absolutely. Giovanni, you know what time it is. At number 9, another great one from Milan. It's Maxophone. They were another one and done band, although they did come out with a great second album in 2017, La Fabbrica della Nuvole. That was right before Sergio Latuada died. I guess he died shortly after they recorded that album, the great keyboard player. But the first Maxophone album, just incredible. Kind of like Canterbury meets Gentle Giant, but they've got all this weird stuff going on because of the wind instruments, and sometimes it feels kind of carnival-y, sometimes it feels kind of heavy. It's just got so much territory that this thing covers. I absolutely adore it. Yeah, Maxophone, another band that was a one and done. They did release this thing in English about a year afterwards, and it didn't do anything. Yeah, but you don't want it in English. You want it in Italian. At number 8, we're going to Naples and Osanna. Palepoli, apparently that's an old name for the town of Naples. This is Osanna's third album. Their first 2 were good. They had 2 more after this in the 70s that were good, but this one is an absolute masterpiece. It's got all those weird Mediterranean sounds and rhythms. It's got North African chants going on. You know, you're almost like you're at the dockside in Naples, where you've got the whole Mediterranean world coming in and, trading goods, but also playing music. And you just hear the whole Mediterranean world on this thing. I love it. It's kind of a hard record to get into. It's basically 2 long songs, Orda Caldo on side 1 and Animala Senza Respiro on side 2, and they're both amazing. Yeah, what a classic. What a masterpiece. I absolutely love it. At number 7. Now it's getting crazy with Quella Vecchia Locanda's debut album, the self-titled debut from 1972. They dropped an equally great sophomore album in 74, Il Tempo della Gioia. But this one here is my favorite of the two. It's got an American teenager playing a violin on this thing, a guy named Donald Lax. There's flute all over the place. At times, this thing reminds me a little bit of Kansas, but then I think about PFM too. These guys were from Rome. 2 albums, and they called it quits. Both are amazing, but yeah, I picked the first one primarily because I don't have the second one on vinyl, because honestly, it's a toss-up between their 2 albums. They're both amazing. At number 6, it's Alphataurus, boys and girls. Oh yes, another one and done band. These guys were from Milan. Later on, they came out in 1992. They came out with a second album, and then in 2012 they came out with a really good third album called Atto Segundo. But this is the one here. This is the one that the gate folds out in a trifold. It's just incredible. This is a band with a traditional 5-piece with the bass, vocal, guitar, drums, keyboards, but it's got the great song Lamenta Vola on here, one of the greatest prog rock songs ever written. But this whole album is incredible. I just love this thing. Just amazing. The artwork's great. The album's even better. At number 5, yeah, somebody was commenting and hoping and praying that this thing would be on here, and it's Semiramis, Dedicato a Frazz. Look at that album cover. I adore it. I think it's amazing. Yeah, these guys are a bunch of youngsters from Rome. They were only active from 1970 to 1974. I guess they were all teenagers. If you can imagine nursery crime era Genesis, being slammed up next to Atomic Rooster. Maybe you get a hint about what this is about. You got a lot of the pastoral, interesting instrumentation on here, yet at the same time, it just goes off into a lot of crazy directions. If ever a band needed a second album, it's this one. I have no idea what happened to the guys in the band. Apparently they disappeared into the oblivion, but they left behind a great testimony to their genius. One fantastic album that you must own. At number 4, yeah, this is a bit surprising that this one got so low. It's Felona e Sorona, one of my all-time favorite albums. Lay Army, one of my all-time favorite bands. This is their 4th album. Their first one was okay. Their second one, Collage, was really, really good. Then the third album, Uomo di Pezza in 1972, brought them 100% into the prog realm, set the world up for this 1973 masterpiece. Of course, Lay Army is from Venice. At the time that they recorded all their best work, they were a 3-piece with Aldo Tagliapietra on bass and vocals, Antonio Pagliuca on keyboards, and Michi De Rossi on drums. I guess he's still in the band. They're still going. But yeah, this album here, the artwork is incredible. The music is incredible. It's about these 2 planets. One is very happy and rich. The other is poor and unhappy. And you can guess what happens as the 2 planets settle the score. Yeah, Lay Army, just incredible. But the only original pressing I've got out of this bunch comes in at number 3. It's PFM, Un Amico. This is just one of those great classic albums. This came out in 72. It was their second album. Actually, their second album released in 72 as well. PFM, of course, stands for Premiata Fornaria Marconi, or the award-winning Marconi Bakery. Yeah, they were formed in 1970 in Milan, and they released 3 amazing records. Then they did the English vocal thing. They got signed to Manticore, so they put out a couple records with English vocals. Pete Sinfield wrote the lyrics. And then because of the whole let's break into the American audience, on their later albums, they brought in a guy that sang English real good, Bernardo Lanzetti, just amazing. But we're talking about Un Amico. This is my favorite PFM album by far. I love the artwork. I love every song on here. It's incredible. I got an original pressing and I'm so happy. I wish all of these Italians were original pressing, but you know, I'm a poor guy, so what can you do? But let's all hail Franco Musita, Flavio Primoli, Muro Pagani, Giorgio Piazza, and the great Franz Di Cioccio, who is still in the band, keeping it going after all these years. Oh, we've only got two more at number 2. I bet you guys can guess what it is. It's Darwin from Banco del Moturo Soccorso, their second album. Like PFM, put out their first and second albums in 1972. And just like PFM, their best album is their second one. Darwin tells the story of evolution and all that kind of stuff. Bert Carlson knows what time it is. So does Richard Tyson. He loves PFM. But how about this one, man? Banco. This is their masterpiece. I absolutely adore it. The Nocenzi brothers, Gianni and Vittorio, joined by the great Francesco Di Giacomo. Oh, my goodness gracious. If you don't know Italian prog, this might be a really good starting point, but there is one that I like even better than this one, and you guys probably know what it is. You know, this isn't rocket science. This isn't rocket science here. We're talking about prog rock, and we're talking about Zarathustra by Museo Rosenbach, one of the greatest albums ever recorded. Look at that album cover. Just look how great that is. I guess they got into some trouble because of the Mussolini image buried in there. You know, Italy was going through all kinds of weird times in the 60s and the 70s. You know, the communists were running wild, and, you know, there was all kinds of weird stuff going on. So all these young cats were out trying to make their names for themselves, trying to make music that would last forever. And I'm telling you, this is one of those albums that will stand the test of time. I love the mellotron in here. I love the guitar tone in here. And, you know, you've got the great Lupo on vocals, Stefano Galifi, who would later on form a band or join a band called Il Tempio della Classidre, which is obviously one of the songs on this album. He's just a phenomenal singer. He is with Pit Karate on keyboards, Giancarlo Golzi on drums, Enzo Morogno on guitar, and Alberto Moreno on bass. They did an album in 2000, which was not good, but then they came back in 2013 with an album called Barbarica, which I actually liked a lot. But for all intents and purposes, Museo Rosenbach was a one and done, and they left us this absolutely stunning masterpiece. It's 10 out of 10. It's absolutely perfect. It's my favorite Italian album by far. There are so many great albums that I left off this list, so many great bands. It's not even funny that I may actually have to do a part 2 to this at some point, but I've been wanting to talk about Italian prog and show you guys my top 25 Italian prog albums for quite some time. Yeah, so what can you do? Anyway, I've got some people talking to me, so let's talk to them. Yeah, Marcus says this channel is amazing. Brother, I really appreciate that. It's been a rough week or two for me, so hearing stuff like that really helps out. Richard Tyson, you're awesome. The post-structuralist heroes on board. Yeah. And we love Italian prog so much. I love you guys. I am trying to get my act together here. I don't think I'm going to do the top 25 album covers until I get my phone back. I'm trying different things and I'm just not loving it. So I'm going to keep doing stuff along these lines. But anyway, guys, that is my ranking of the top 25 Italian prog rock albums of all time. And if you notice, they're all from 1971 to 1977. So yeah, part 2 is definitely in order where we can talk about some of the great new bands like Unreal City and Logos and Submarine Silence and all the great Italian prog that's out there now, Mascara de Sera, all that stuff. Anyway, I am Scott. Please subscribe if you're digging what I'm doing here. Hit the notifications bell, hit that like button. It does really help the channel grow, especially now that I can't do videos as often as I want to. So every little bit helps, y'all. Anyway, I love you guys. Peace in the Middle East, and I will see all of you soon. Thank you very much.